Okay, so got my Halloween decorations, got my deer skull and owl rings, got my fall edition, but how will they know I'm a homosexual outfit? Let's fucking do some fall reads. Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I have done a series of videos on this channel that are recommendations for books to read in fall. I didn't do one last year because it was coming time to, you know, do that kind of video, and I realized that I didn't have enough books to talk about to fill a video. So I didn't do one last year, but this is the return of the fall reading recommendations list. Some of these are horror light. I have quite a few gothic novels on this list because I don't really do horror, but let's get right into it. So the first book on this list is a bit of a throwback. I first read this series, I want to say I was in middle school, maybe? This is the Sabriel series by Garth Nix. The main character is a necromancer, hence why it counts for this video. But she's actually kind of a reverse necromancer, and that she like puts the dead back to rest that other necromancers have risen. Did that sentence make sense? Probably not. Let's move on. So the main character is a girl named Sabriel. She is the Aporson, which means that she has to like put the dead to rest. In the beginning of the book, her father was the previous Aporson, and then she like receives the tools that he uses to put the dead back to rest, and she has to like go back into the old world where magic still works, because there's like an old kingdom and a new kingdom. They're separated by a wall. They sort of exist on different timelines where like it'll be winter in one kingdom and like fall in another kingdom, and the weather will be totally different, and magic really only exists in the old kingdom. It's a very cool world, and I'd forgotten a lot of this. It is a trilogy, but I would honestly kind of say that Lyriel and Aporson, which are the second two books in the series, are more like a separate series that are kind of one really long book that got split into two. So the book Sabriel by itself is fairly self-contained. If you don't want to continue on, you don't necessarily need to. Lyriel picks up with a completely different main character, which is a girl named Lyriel, and it's set, I want to say, like 20-ish years after the events of Sabriel. So I recently reread this series, and the audiobook is narrated by Tim Curry, so it was a really fun time. And I realized that the books are still really good. They definitely hold up, and they're a really good atmospheric read. So the next one on this list is another trilogy that I actually haven't read the third one yet, but this is the Bone Witch and the Heart Forger by Rin Chupeco. Maybe I'm saying that right? I don't know. These are kind of similar. They follow the chronicles of a necromancer witch. I didn't really love the first book in the series, to be completely honest. I thought that it had some promise, but the pacing was super weird, and there was this framing story that wasn't interesting to me like at all. It just felt like I didn't really know what to do with it yet, but I felt like the second book, even though it is much longer than the first book, has a much more consistent pacing. The frame story starts to work into the like main narrative in a way that was really cool. Stuff actually started happening in the framing story, which was not the case in the first book. It was just like they're on a beach with a bunch of monsters, and there's a bard she's telling her story to. It was weird. In the second book, it actually starts making sense. And so obviously I haven't read book 3, so I can't really fully recommend the whole series, but I have really enjoyed what I've read so far, and I will be reading the third book as soon as I get around to it. Who knows. The next one is the Every Heart a Doorway series by Shauna McGuire. The first one is about a girl who went into this land of the dead and has then now been returned to our world, sort of the normal world, and was sent to a school by her parents who don't know how to deal with the fact that their daughter is like not who they remember her as, and she disappeared for a long time and like isn't telling them about where she was. So this is a whole series about children who go through like portals into other worlds and then come back and have to deal with the fact that they, you know, don't get access to this beautiful world that they found that they like belong in anymore. The second book, Down Among the Sticks and Bones, is set in like a Halloween Transylvania kind of setting. There's like vampires and werewolves and ghouls, and so it's very Halloween appropriate. And the whole series just has a lot of fun representation of queer people, of people of different sizes and sexualities and all kinds of stuff. I do find that since it is a novella series, occasionally her writing gets a little bit heavy-handed because she doesn't have time to sort of be more circuitous about her points. She is like, there's more than one way to be a girl, like in the text. And I'm like, okay, thanks, we got it. But I still think that the world is really imaginative and it's a very enjoyable series. The next one is the last of the sort of modern fantasy ones. It is The Changeling by Victor Lavelle. This one is weird, just giving you a warning. I didn't know what the fuck to do with it by the time I finished it. Again, it has very weird pacing. There's like this story about this couple that fall in love and then they have a child, and then it like skips ahead like 15 years and now the child is the main character and he's an adult and now he's falling in love with this woman and they're getting married and having a child, and then there is an act which on the back of the book is referred to like she does like the unthinkable, and I'm just like, okay, she kills the baby. And so because it took so long to get to that unspeakable act, I spent like the whole first half of the book, or however long it took, just going like, kill the baby, which says something about me or says something about the book. I don't know. Because I just felt like we were in like a holding pattern and I was like, get the story moving. But yeah, it turns out that like the baby might not have been the real baby, it might have been a changeling baby, or maybe it was a real baby. There's a whole lot about like women not being believed and gaslighting, and anyway, it's a very, very weird book, but it is spooky, it is atmospheric, and you know, go check it out, I guess. Okay, moving on to some Gothic novels. First is the Northanger Abbey Audible original drama, which is what I did. I haven't actually read like the text, but the Audible drama is a whole lot of fun. This is actually like a send-up of Gothic novels. It's like a parody of them, and it's very, very funny. So the main girl is this like young, naive girl who is obsessed with novels, and she gets invited by this boy that she likes to go stay at his abbey, and she's like, her sensibilities are very excited about this, and then she basically ends up like concocting this Gothic narrative in her head about like the secrets of the abbey. It's very, very funny. It is also narrated by Emma Thompson and a full cast in the Audible drama version. So if that is something that you're interested in, definitely check it out. But the book itself, even if you're just reading it, is still very funny. Next on this list is The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson. They recently made this into a Netflix series, which I haven't watched because they made it much more of an explicit horror story than it is in the book, and I can't really do horror. So the book is more of a thriller with some supernatural elements. It is much more about like the psychological journey of the main character with possibly some ghostly apparitions in it. The series is much more heavily into the ghosts and supernatural elements, and it is much more explicitly horror, so I can't actually watch it, which is a shame. But I loved this book. I thought it was a very spooky, fun time. Shirley Jackson just is so good at atmosphere. She also is really good at writing about food. Like, I get hungry every time I read her books. The whole concept is that there is this house that is like malevolent in its architecture. Like, the people in it tend to like slowly go mad, and so obviously this scholar wants to disprove or possibly prove that there are ghosts, and like gathers up a party of people to go like stay in the house for a week to see if there's actually any ghosts. And one of the main characters is this woman who like abandoned her life to go and go on this journey, and it's sort of like her slowly losing her mind. The next one on the list is another Gothic novel. This one is sort of traditional Gothic novel. It is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I can't believe I never mentioned this one before. I might have a copy of it. Hold on, let me see. Huh. I don't own a single physical copy of Jane Eyre. That's bizarre. I should rectify that. Anyway, I read this, I guess I borrowed my mom's copy of it when I read it ages ago, and then recently reread it on audiobook. It is narrated by Tandy Newton, and she does a phenomenal job narrating it. This is not like a full cast drama, this is just her narrating the audiobook, but she does such a stellar job. Like, the emotions felt so real, and all of the characters had these really different, interesting voices, and I just fell in love with it. Obviously, Mr. Rochester is not a stellar human being, but I do really feel like he and Jane just have this sparkling chemistry, and they're such equally compatible levels of weirdo. Like, they're just super intense and weird in the same ways, in ways that complement each other, and so it's really fun. And, you know, there's a section after she sort of finds out why they can't get married where they're just like torturing each other emotionally, and they're just like, oh, it's such exquisite agony that I really enjoyed it. Okay, so my final books for this list are by the same author. They're not technically in a series, but they feel like they are. They are Uprooted and Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. So Uprooted, I would say, maybe fits the bill a little bit more. I think that it is more explicitly creepy. There is a section in here where there is like a reveal about what has happened to one of the characters, and I like full body shuddered. It is so eerie. There's this like malevolent forest in this book that like is like everything in it is tainted and twisted, and these people live on like the outskirts of this forest, and it's like anytime like pollen from the forest gets blown into their fields, they have to like salt and burn their entire crops. There will be like wolves that come out of the forest that are like preternaturally intelligent. It's so eerie and atmospheric. It's technically based off of a Beauty and the Beast retelling, but there's so much more going on here than just that. There is a absolutely wonderful romance in this book. There is a wonderful female friendship in this book, and there's just some amazing atmosphere. And then Spinning Silver was the sort of follow-up to this. This is based off of Rumpelstiltskin. I would honestly say this one is maybe a little bit more explicitly based off of Rumpelstiltskin, and that it's sort of like more of the plot is based off of the fairy tale. There's also this really eerie like demon villain in this book. It's very like wintry and cold, and you know, makes you just kind of want to snuggle up under a blanket. And this also has an amazing romance. It actually has two amazing romances in it. Great. And it's been chewed on by kittens. Yeah, there we go. Chewed on by kittens, because everything in my life has been destroyed by the foster kittens. Anyway, we only have one left, and she is a perfect little black Halloween cat, so maybe I should go get her. Natasha! Natasha! There you are! Come here, my little puppy! Ooh, I got you! Oh, perfect little Halloween cat! Little Halloween cat! Look at the camera. Oh! Hi! Hi! This is Natasha. She's our shy little Halloween cat. She doesn't love being picked up, but she's so cute! Look at her! Oh, look at that face. Oh, I love her. She's our last remaining foster kitten. We used to have 6, now we're down to 1. Anyway, both of these fairy tale retellings are very worth checking out for the season. And that is gonna be it for my fall reads this year. Let me know if you have read or are planning to read any of those books. And like, subscribe, all the good stuff, and I'll see you guys very soon in another video. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye!